Senegalese Tirailleurs, World War II. Senegalese Tirailleurs were part of La Colonial, a military formation made of troops from French colonies. They were formed in 1857 and have participated in most major French wars until 1964, when they were disbanded. Even though the Senegalese Tirailleurs were recruited from all the French territories in West Africa, most of them were from Senegal, hence the name for the formation. Tirailleurs, or skirmishers, were typical military formations of French colonies. Besides the Senegalese were also North African and Vietnamese tirailleurs. As German power rose in the 1930s and the Second World War was approaching, the French army was facing a huge problem. With low numbers of conscripts from mainland France, soldiers from the colonies had to be called to arms. So until 1940, France recruited around 179,000 soldiers from Senegal. Some 40,000 of them were sent to Western Europe to fight the German forces, while the rest were sent to French territories from North Africa to Syria. During the French campaign from the 10th of May until the 25th of June 1940, Senegalese tirailleurs fought on all fronts, from the Maginot Line to Provence. The Senegalese fought alongside the French with the same vigor. They especially distinguished themselves by defending key positions on communications leading to Lyon, the Chasselet, Mount Luzon zone. At the time when the German army was advancing through France, soldiers of the 25th Senegalese Rifle Regiment withheld against them for 2 days during the Battle of Chasselet from June 19th to June 20th, 1940. It was only when German tanks arrived as reinforcements that the tirailleurs' brave resistance collapsed. After the battle, some of the unfortunate Senegalese tirailleurs did not receive the usual treatment for prisoners of war. Instead, the tirailleurs captured by the infamous units who were indoctrinated with Nazi racial doctrines, such as the SS Totenkopf Division, were executed, as they expressed outrage at fighting the Senegalese tirailleurs. Those tirailleurs who evaded captivity joined either the Free French troops or units of the Vichy France, depending on the territory where they were deployed at the time of French capitulation. Even though Senegalese tirailleurs were a distinctive formation, they were deployed to standard units of the French army. Their uniform was standard, but it had some distinctive features by which they were recognized. Senegalese tirailleurs exclusively wore double-breasted coats, or paletot. On their belts, Senegalese tirailleurs wore a traditional scarlet sash. In combat, these were worn beneath garments, but on everyday dress they were clearly visible. The final distinctive feature of their uniform was a scarlet hat, or chechia, the same as the North African tirailleurs had. However, during battles of the French campaign, they wore a standard model 1926 Adrian helmet with the anchor insignia that was reserved for Colonial troops. Besides a common Lebel Berthier M1907-15 rifle, Senegalese tirailleurs wore famous Coup Coup machetes. As an additional piece of equipment, tirailleurs wore a barda Sénégalais, a tent section that also served to hold the soldiers' personal belongings. As they served loyally when France was losing the war, Senegalese tirailleurs fought in the same manner for the liberation of the country. When Operation Torch in northern Africa started on November 8, 1942, troops of the Vichy France showed significant resistance to American soldiers who landed in Algiers and Morocco. Tirailleurs stood along with their French comrades. It was only after November 12th that Vichy troops quit the hostilities and decided to join the Allies. Now, Charles de Gaulle and the Free French received a significant reinforcement, of which were mostly colonial troops. Even though they fought against tirailleurs and other Vichy troops just a few days before, the Americans accepted all of them as their own, and a mutual respect developed. After fighting in the Italian campaign, 20,000 tirailleurs had landed on the Mediterranean coast of France with the First Army on August 15, 1944. Led by American General Alexander Patch, tirailleurs and the rest of the colonial troops were liberating city after city. During the entire operation, tirailleurs fought side by side with American soldiers. When the task of liberating southern France was completed, tirailleurs moved along with the rest of the Allies towards the German border. However, that was when their role in the war was suddenly finished. When it became obvious that victory was near, de Gaulle carried out the blanchiment, or whitening of the army. Black soldiers were replaced by white soldiers from the mainland, including newly recruited French volunteers and resistance fighters, while the Senegalese tirailleurs were sent back home or to the south of France away from the final victories and the eventual liberation of Paris. According to the old policy of hivernage, or wintering, Troops from Africa were withdrawn from colder regions in the winter and sent to the warmer south of France or Africa for a period of rest, recreation, and training. Whether it was because of de Gaulle's politics or for their welfare, tirailleurs left the battlefields of World War II and went back home. The story of the Senegalese Tirailleurs in World War II ended in more than a tragic and disgraceful manner. Before the war, all the soldiers from Senegal were promised an equal pension as all other soldiers. When they went back home, the situation was quite different, as French authorities offered them much less compensation than their white comrades. On November 31, 1944, repatriated soldiers settled at the Camp Tirailleurs, protested, and took General Damiens as hostage. On the following day, the French responded by opening fire on the protesters, killing between 30 and 70 demobbed tirailleurs. The Tirailleurs massacre remained a dark spot in the history of Senegalese tirailleurs. Subscribe and click the notification bell for more history videos.